So, you've done a great job on your job evaluation. You've worked hard, you have looked at all the jobs in your organization, you've evaluated the compensable factors of each position and how they relate to one another, and you think you're ready to determine the pay rates for your whole team. Not quite yet. There are a few other things that you have to consider before you can fully develop your compensation plan. Let's take a look at some of them. These factors that influence your compensation strategy could be internal or they could be external. The first thing, if we look at the internal factors that we want to take a look at, is the type of employer and what the employer's strategy is as a company. Is the employer a large downtown luxury hotel with a goal and a strategy and a mission to provide the best possible service to guests at all times? If that's the case, they're going to need the best staff they can possibly find to meet these high demands. They're going to be looking for experienced, professional people who are really willing to go above and beyond to serve customers. And they're going to need to pay a little bit more for that. You also have companies that really put a high value on the employee's performance, and they may adjust people's pay or give them what are called merit increases, depending on how their performance is. You also have companies who really would love to pay their employees more, but they just can't afford to. Don't forget, employers have budgets and financial constraints and owners that they need to report to. So, although they might love to give their employees more money, sometimes it's just not possible. If we look at the external factors, the one at the top of the list is one that's on everybody's mind today, and that's the economy. What is the state of the economy? What are the labor market conditions? The supply and demand for labor has changed drastically since we started our course this semester. The message I'm telling you now about the labor market is very different than the message I told you 8 or 10 weeks ago. So those factors definitely have an influence on how employers and how companies pay their staff. Don't forget about geography. It matters a lot when it comes to employment compensation strategies. Is the hotel in downtown Toronto going to pay as much as a similarly sized hotel that is located in a small town outside of Toronto? Probably not. Why? For one thing, there's greater competition, a greater number of employers competing for staff. For another thing, the cost of living is higher. So, depending on where you're living and the type of geographic area that you're in, the wage rates in those areas need to be considered in relation to the cost of living. Don't forget, in a unionized environment where there's a third party that represents the staff, the employees, and there's a collective agreement in place, that collective agreement is what dictates who gets paid how much. So if I was an employer in a unionized environment, I might have a superstar staff member who I really want to give a significant raise to. I want to reward them for their performance. I want to keep them engaged and attracted to the workplace. I want to include some incentives for them to continue their performance. If I work in a unionized environment, I can't do that. I must follow the collective agreement and pay people exactly as the collective agreement says, where this position earns this much money, this position earns that much money. And I'm not allowed to, there's my Amazon delivery. I'm not allowed to vary from that. So it's a unique situation in a unionized environment where you might want to pay more, but you actually aren't able to. Don't forget that we also have legal requirements, laws that need to be followed, the Employment Standards Act, and one that's not listed here is competition. If my hotel is paying all my servers $14 an hour, but Jaswinder's hotel around the corner is paying all the servers $16 an hour, where do you think all the servers in the city are going to want to work? Not for me. They're going to go around the corner. So it's important that employers conduct salary surveys to ensure that they are paying competitively and that they are equally able to attract talent and find candidates and employees in the labor market as the employer around the street or around the corner. So a lot of different things come into play. Don't forget, job evaluation is an important piece of the puzzle, but it's only one piece. So keep in mind these internal and external